Chess friends, I hope you are doing well. Today, I have a very interesting and astonishing chess game to share, played between a new chess engine that has recently arrived, Kaiser 2.0, which was designed to compete against me in a chess championship. This game is particularly amazing because I sacrificed my knight, and I will teach you the chess tactics that I employed in this match. So let's get started without wasting any time. I started the game with d4, and instead of considering d5 or knight f6, Kaiser chose a different approach by playing knight c6. This is a completely unconventional move that stops the c-pawn from advancing, allowing me to play d5, forcing the knight to move. After e4 and e6, you can proceed with c4 or knight c3. The game could have progressed like that, but instead of playing d5, I decided to go with knight c3. Kaiser then made another shocking move e5 which surprised me. Why, Kaiser, are you trying to challenge me with your new version? By the way, my own Stockfish 17 version will be released in the next couple of months, or maybe weeks, so, I pushed my pawn forward, and as the knight retreated, I played e4. In this position, you can see that she is trying to secure f5 for her knight and bishop, aiming to attack the key pawn. Thus, she played knight g6, and I responded with g3 to control the knight's potential squares. The bishop moved to b4, pinning my knight, which made knight f6 a significant threat to attack my pawn on e4. I then moved my knight and placed my bishop on g2. As the knight moved to e7, she was threatening to push f5, attempting to attack with her entire army along the f-file. Once she castles, she will gain control of the f-file, making it a powerful attack on my kingside. Therefore, I played a3, giving the bishop a dilemma: either capture the knight or retreat. She chose to retreat her bishop. Her plan was clear. She wanted to play bishop b6 to attack the f2 pawn. After playing f5 and castling, the rook would control the f-file, with both attacking the f2 pawn. That was her strategy. I played queen d3 with the idea of playing queen b5 to check the king and capture the bishop. After bishop b3, I planned to long castle, building a solid position. After castling, I played bishop e3. Here, f5 gives the opportunity to open up the rook file after castling. To counter this, I attacked by playing h4, launching an attack from the other side of the board. When f4 was played, I moved my bishop back. After the exchanges, you can see that the f2 pawn became weak, with bishop b6 applying more pressure. But I simply pushed the pawn to f3, forming a three-pawn chain like a four-story building, making it difficult for her. The half-open queen file also allowed my queen to exploit her vulnerable kingside. So, let me share an inspirational quote in sudden with you. You can spend minutes, hours, days, weeks, or even months overanalyzing a situation, trying to put the pieces together, or you can just leave the pieces on the floor and move on. Going back to the position, instead of playing f5, she played f6. Some might think this creates a weakness in the light squares along the diagonal, but the problem for me is that my bishop cannot reach d5 to attack diagonally. At the same time, the light squared bishop's diagonal has opened up, giving her knight the opportunity to move back and forth on f7, which is part of her strategy. A few moves later, I played f4 to initiate a counterattack, as her knight reached f7. Instead of considering h4 or any other ill-advised move, I played f5. This created difficulties for her, as the e6 square became an outpost for my knight, and I could push my g and h pawns. You could see the potential for my rook to come to g1. After c5. You might be tempted to consider d takes c6 as it seems logical, but the problem is that the b file would open, giving her the chance to bring the queen, or bishop b6 could arrive to attack. But these are future moves black could play. In the actual game, instead of capturing the pawn, I played a strong and aggressive move, h4. My attack against her kingside was powerful, and as the rook moved to g4, I moved my bishop to c1 to play b5, counter-attacking along the b file. After I played g5, b4 followed. Her attacks were faster than mine, like a bullet train, always faster than any slower alternatives. After the exchanges, I didn't move my knight back to a2, as that would be too passive. Instead, I moved my knight to d1, and as her bishop moved to b5, my queen moved, and b3 came into play. And you can see that my queen has literally no space to go, she's trapped, therefore, I had to play c3 to block the attack. When the queen moved to c8, she started attacking along this file, where the b3 pawn is like a monkey at the top of my house, controlling many key squares. If the bishop gets the opportunity to move to c2, it would be very devastating for me, so in this position, if you play a normal move, like knight f2, castle would just capture that knight, forcing my queen to capture, thus deflecting the protection of the pawn. After bishop takes c3, no matter if you capture the bishop or not, the position would be over for you, because after the exchange and queen takes c3, the king moves, and despite black being down a piece, she has two passed pawns with the rook supporting them. My king's position is insecure, like he has no bodyguards and no money to hire them. Going back to the position, as the knight couldn't move, the bishop retreated, and the queen moved to c4. It's like cherry season, where the queen can go to the orchard and gather many cherries and apples. Let me break her dream by playing knight f2. As the king moves to d1, queen takes a1 doesn't matter because queen c1 can defend my position. When the king moves, you can see that Kaiser's king is very well secured. Many players might think of capturing the pawn. After the exchanges, there would be no potential attacks for you. But even if you consider bishop h6 to create some counterplay, it doesn't matter. Throwing a piece on the chessboard, hoping for some attacks and threats, doesn't mean your threats will be successful. After the exchanges, despite having an open file for the rook, your queen is hopeless and can't do much. The rook moves up, protecting that square, and you have no attacks, even though the black king is unsecured. Even if you consider knight g4 to attack the pawn, it doesn't matter because queen takes e4 will attack the pawn and threaten a checkmate with queen c2 check. The position will be just over for you because bishop takes e2 is also a possibility. The central idea is clear: when it's not time for flowers or fruits to bloom on the trees, you can't take them at the wrong time from the wrong place. Going back to the variation, we discovered that you can't capture the pawn, so I took a different approach with my super strong brain, playing knight g3, attacking the bishop directly. As the exchanges occurred, bishop b6 came to exchange another piece. After I captured the pawn on f6, my king moved to e2 because it needed safety. A few moves later, when knight h5 came to protect that square, rook g1 arrived on the board. It looked like I was dominating the black position, but that wasn't entirely true. After rook g1 and a few more moves, you can see that I developed my rooks on this file, and Kaiser needed to defend her position. Knight h6 is the biggest threat, with rook g7 potentially attacking the h7 pawn. That's my strategy. After a few more moves, we reached a position where knight f7 was played, creating a nice outpost. After the exchanges, another knight moved to g4, attacking the pawn. My knight had a clear strategy, and as the ice cream melts in the summer, Kaiser's king's position became more and more disrupted with each move. I played c4, making it difficult for her to activate her knight or rook. The knight on c5 became a dumber knight. Like buying a video game that turns out to be boring and isn't interesting after playing 3 rounds. As the queen moved and after a few more moves, we were just doing some chess musical dances. As a guitarist creates music, my knight, like a musician, came to h6. Some might consider capturing the knight, but after I capture the knight, you reduce your defending piece. My queen then heads to f8, and as the rook moves to f7, I can move to f8 with my knight, attacking the queen, no matter where the queen goes. It doesn't matter because I have a very strong move. Can you guess? I know you can because it's easily findable. Knight g6 check. This forces the king to move, and as the king moves, it becomes vulnerable. Knight takes e5, followed by knight takes f7. Leads to checkmate. The game will be just over for you in a few moves. So, let me provide you a life-hacking secret informational quote. Don't promise when you're happy, don't reply when you're angry, and don't decide when you're sad. Going back to all the variations we discovered, we realized that capturing the knight is a very bad choice. That's why the rook moves back. After the queen moves, a few moves later, you can see that we are doing some more chess instrumental dances. In this position, I played a very strong move. Can you guess what it was? Try to think a little bit. The move is knight takes e5. If you found that move, congratulations, because rook g7 can ruin your position. If you capture the knight, rook g7 will arrive with the idea of capturing the rook. No matter which pawn you capture, rook g7 will harm your position. As the queen moves and the knight comes into play, a few moves later, when the king moves to e3, you will see that my knights are just dominating your position. You have literally no squares to go to, and your rook can't move anywhere because your pawn is hanging. Even if you consider queen f7, I can play queen g3, controlling this rank. Your queen has no squares left, and all your pieces are frozen like in winter, with no blankets. As the queen moves, I can play queen g7, sacrificing the queen and checkmating you with one single pawn. Haha, that's a very disrespectful ending for you. But in our actual game, Kaiser, a well-respected woman chess player, well, she's a chess engine, you know, just moved her rook back to the b7 square, giving me the pawn for free. As the knight moved, we had some piece exchanges, and I played d6, attacking the rook. Then, after more knight exchanges, I moved my king because my pawns were advancing toward your board to build a statue in your kingdom, fly my flag, and claim your territory. After the exchanges, we had f6, and I brought my rook to the e6 square. The rook moving to d8 didn't matter because I could just push my pawn forward. When the rook moved to d6, I simply captured it, and a few moves later, I checkmated her. It was a very astonishing and amazing game with her. I hope you enjoyed the game very much. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye, take care, see you soon.